What's up, chum? Sharky here, and welcome back to the Shark Bites podcast. Kalani's with me today.
Hello, I'm gonna shove you into an animatronic suit now for that mistake.
I forgot to hit the record button. I'm sorry. Today we're going to talk about the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. I forgot to hit the record button, and I feel very bad for doing that. But just to catch you up, so if you haven't seen the movie yet, go see it. We're going to talk about spoilers, and
So you've been warned.
yes, and I went today. Theater experience was okay. There were kids at my screening because it was in the morning at like 10 a.m. Um, yeah.
There were also kids at my showing because I went opening night, and there were a lot of people dressed up. It was awesome.
Yeah, I wore my like skeleton hoodie when I went with my skeleton shoes and stuff.
I almost decided to wear my son cosplay, but I was like, no, nobody will be dressed up at it. I was
You
wrong.
should have. Yeah, that would have been cool.
If Sun is going to be in either of the next movies, because let's face it, they did sign for 2 more movies,
Yeah.
I'm definitely wearing it then.
I think even some of the employees were dressed up at my theater too. Um,
So let's just kind of break it down a bit. Like, let's start with the beginning of the movie,
Wait, hold
with
on.
how it started.
So one
Hmm.
other thing I was gonna say about my theater experience, the only thing that irritated me was that there were a lot of parents that kept like getting up in the middle of the movie.
I
Like there
hate
was
when
this,
people do that.
it wasn't even like the kids, it was the parents getting up. But there was this lady sitting next to me, and I swear she got up like 4 times to like go to the bathroom or like get a drink or whatever, and I was just like, "Can you just sit down?"
Like, like, go pee before the movie.
It's only like an hour and a half. You can't sit for that long, seriously? Like,
It's literally just under 2 hours.
yeah. When I go
Like,
to a movie, I sit there till the very end. I don't get up at all.
I mean, that is part of the movie experience is drinking too much soda and sitting there at the very end of the movie with your bladder about to explode.
See, I just after my plane trip to the UK and holding it for 8 hours, I have a bladder of steel. I didn't get up once, okay? Like, if I go to the movies, I'm sitting for the whole thing, including after the credits, which we'll talk about that later, but
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
So, shall we start with the beginning of the movie?
I just want to say, too, overall, I liked it a lot. I'd probably give it a high rating. I'm not sure what yet. I was disappointed that Markiplier wasn't in it, but I understand why he
So,
wasn't.
I watched Matt Pat's video today from his film theory,
Hmm.
which he was there for day 1 shooting,
Yeah,
which, spoiler, Matt Pat's in the film.
yeah,
Uh, we'll
he's
get
the
into that later.
okay.
uh he had mentioned how backstage, like in the area where people would get ready and stuff, uh they had like all the different actors, and they had Mark where they were going to have him play the security guard at the beginning of the film that gets killed.
Uh huh.
But obviously conflicting schedules, which I've heard that Scott has said he has to be in the next one, almost as if he's not giving Mark a choice.
I saw Mark talk about it in one of his live streams. I think it was
Hmm.
where he said that he was filming Iron Lung at the same time as the Fnaf movie, and it just didn't work out. And I get that, like scheduling is
Yeah.
difficult. But I was a little disappointed because I was looking for him in the background and stuff.
Yeah, I was looking for like a slight reference, like a little prop they may have thrown out.
They didn't even put
But
him
I
on the
get it.
Employee of the Month board. I thought they would.
Well, they probably had special costumes so that they didn't have to worry about Photoshop, and they just
Yeah.
had that because I've like Daco's there, and they've he'd been there to set, so they probably had taken his photo to put there.
Yeah, I saw some of the other ones that I used to watch, like 8-Bit Ryan and stuff.
Completionist was up there too. I could be wrong on that one. So, what did you think with the opening part of the movie?
Um, opening part with
You know,
with the
the
maps with the
security
spinny things and stuff.
the security guard like running through the vent and being chased down by Foxy,
I thought
and then the whole mask thing.
I thought the mask thing reminded me a lot of Saw. Like,
I can see. Well,
I
yeah, that's the second time I've heard that. I mean, it has saws on it.
well, I mean, okay, since you probably haven't seen Saw, right?
Shock.
Because you don't watch horror
No,
movies, but
because I'm a
um,
pussy.
I've seen Saw 1 and 2 and clips of like other movies, like the seventh one here and there. And there's this trap. It's like a reverse bear trap that this
I've
girl
heard
like
about it.
wears on her head. It kind of just reminded me of something that you'd see in a Saw film because it like
Mm.
latches onto your face and like kills you slowly and
And for all we know, there's something I've not read all the books, but there could be something that references towards it in the books.
yeah. Yeah, and I was going to say that too. I've read I think 3 of the books. I can't for the life of me tell you what happens in them because I they kind of all blend together and I can't really remember. Um
Now, I will say with the books, uh, I've only read like the first two of the Fazbear Frights,
mm,
and just the way they're wrote, it sounds bad, but it like numbs my brain. Like it feels like you're reading a middle school book.
I'm just going to say I'm not a big fan of the books. I've read about 3 of them and they all seem kind of poorly written, like they don't make sense
Yeah.
in some
Like the
parts.
stories intrigue me, but
Yeah,
with how they're doing three stories in them, it feels like it's too rushed, and I'd rather have one book devoted to just one story
there's a lot
and
of
it be better, wrote better.
there's a lot of things in the books that like where they're explaining how something works and you're trying to imagine it in your head like visually
Mhm.
but it doesn't make sense like no matter or they'll say something that contradicts something that they explained before and that was very confusing for me but anyway let's get back to the movie um I'm trying to
Yeah.
remember like I felt like some of the pacing of the beginning of the movie was slow. Like after the first security guard, with the new
Mhm.
introducing the new characters and everything, I felt like it went a little slow. But I do
I
like how they wrote the paranormal stuff into this film.
mhm. I feel like it real like the way the writing was kind of actually made it feel like it almost could actually exist. Like it
Yeah,
wasn't like all ooh ghost, but like making it so over the top. Like it was just yeah, this is just the thing and moving on.
well,
Almost like how you would talk with someone.
I like how they tied the main character's brother in with like this
Mhm.
reoccurring dream that he keeps having and how it incorporates the ghost children into his dream and the way that that was done was very interesting like my eyes were glued to
Mhm.
the screen when that was happening.
I will say I love the little detail as the movie goes on. Each time you see the ghost children, their faces slowly become more and more blurred as they lose themselves.
Yeah, I noticed that. I thought it was like an error at first and then I was like wait that's intentional. Like in the
Now,
background.
I will say I don't feel bad at all for the aunt being killed because she just sucked.
Yeah, me neither. I didn't like her.
Yeah, her death, it wasn't a loss. Now, the look on the lawyer's face, though, what was he on?
He was funny. I liked him. He's like,
I did
I
too.
shouldn't be here right now. I shouldn't be hearing any of this.
Like, he looked like he was on the good stuff, and I want to know what it was to be able to put up with all that.
Okay, what was your favorite death?
My favorite death? Ooh. I did really like seeing the cupcake just destroy that guy's face,
Yeah.
but I might have to go probably with what a lot of people are gonna go with, and it be the Freddy jump scare one. When they
Yeah.
pull in what's her name and chomp her in half.
That was sick. That was my favorite too.
Like, I was just like, oh, you gotta get your head bit. Oh my god, that is half your body.
Yeah, the sound of the torso like hitting the floor
Like,
and
they
how
didn't
quick it
over
was.
dramatize things too much, and that's what I love. Because in some movies, when it's like, oh, there's bone cracking or breaking, they play it up too much. I think
That
this movie did it where it was just right.
Me too. It was an awesome kill. And it's like it's quick enough that it's not like torture, you know,
Yeah, like it's just chomp.
but it still builds that suspense. That was something that like even though I thought the pacing was slow at times, I think this movie did a good job with suspense.
See, I
Like,
think the slow pacing worked in its favor. I feel
yeah,
like if they'd have done things and tried to squeeze in more stuff, it would have ruined it.
yeah, I agree with that.
Like I feel like the slow pacing is what gave it room to breathe and let you absorb what the fuck you just witnessed.
I will say I was kind of confused about how okay, so like the characters, because we hear a lot of names mentioned, but like how they fit into the lore. And I know that like the movie deviates from the games, like it's not identical character wise.
Now, I have heard a rumor that the movie is following not not exactly, but more closely to the Silver Eyes book.
Okay.
So I guess that's something for people to keep in mind.
Because
I've not read it.
I wondered how Garrett was like fitting into the
Now,
child murders, like if he was one of the kids
well,
or
I mean, it does confirm that Afton did kill Garrett and gave the toy because killers keep trophies. So,
yeah.
like, him giving that plane to Vanessa, like, was such a gut punch to see that.
Mhm.
And I think, here's my theory. I think that uh, Garrett is going to be the puppet.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't think about that.
Because if you think about it with Fnaf 2, te- if I understand things correctly, which this is Fnaf, so no one does, uh, technically the toy animatronics aren't possessed. So Balloon Boy wouldn't be possessed with that whole scene mid credits when you see him. I think that's the puppet pulling Balloon Boy there to be like, basically, go fetch my brother, which would pull us into the second movie.
Going off of that, I did see a screenshot that somebody took where I don't know if you've seen it, but it was on TikTok where it was Chica standing on the stage, and then if you brighten the image in the background, it looks like the puppet is like
Well, see, I know
hovering there.
they had an endoskeleton that they named Tina that they would stick in the backgrounds as a gag for some things,
Yeah.
but it could be.
And then
So,
okay,
I
so
mean,
I have another question. So, does this movie take place in the 90s?
I'm thinking it takes place in about mid 90s to very early 2000s, but I'm thinking 90s, especially with how Abby was dressed. But they
Yeah.
again with Mike being poor, it could just be thrift store clothes.
Well, the reason I say that is because they don't really explicitly say that, but you can kind of tell by like the old TV sets and they have corded phones. There's no like cell phones really in this
Yeah.
movie, which I appreciate not seeing a smartphone for once. that was like one of the things that I hated about the Child's Play remake, which I know you probably haven't seen that either, but like it's based on the original one that came out in the 80s, but they basically modernized it to where everything is like smartphone oriented,
Mm,
and I didn't like it.
yeah.
But yeah. Let me see if I can find that screenshot. I just want to see what you
So,
think about it.
what did you think of it having a lot of dream sequences, though?
Um,
Because some people would say that it possibly ruined the whole movie, whereas I think it added to it.
I think it added to it because you get a little piece each time you see his dream to what
And the
happened.
and it shows that I think because we don't know exactly how old Mike is, but he's definitely a young adult, like very young.
Yeah.
So I feel like he's in that in between era because it's been shown that the ghost children don't trust adults, whereas it makes sense for them to trust Vanessa because she's been there like forever.
Can we just talk about Vanessa for a second?
Yes, I was
So,
very shocked that she was going to be in the movie.
I was too because she doesn't show up until Security Breach.
But if you think about with the games, so depending on, here's another theory of mine. I am the theorist today. So if you think with the route they could be going, Vanessa could also be a stand in for the crying child. Because now that she is, from the end of the movie, seems like she's in either a coma or like a medically induced coma
Mm-hmm.
while she heals. Then that could be, even if they don't do it, that would lead like through the Fnaf 4 stuff, living through all that.
Mm-hmm.
And then she's like, F this, I was a cop, like to do stuff to basically protect my shitty father.
Mm-hmm.
He's dead, as far as she knows. And so she goes to do the game developing, which is then where basically the whole help wanted happens. And then she gets, because, in the books, there's like this whole thing of where the pizzaplexes, pizzerias, they all like draw people in,
Mm-hmm.
usually like children. So she like gets drawn in to go work at the pizzaplex, which then using the mask that we see in Ruin is what could cause her to become Vanny then.
Right. That's what I was thinking in the back of my head, like the whole time I saw her. I think the actress that they got to play her was spot on. Like she was really
She looks
good.
exactly like her
Yeah, it's
and
crazy.
sounds like her.
Mm-hmm.
So, what did you think when they like revealed that, like Afton was her father? Like, did you see it coming or were you like surprised?
I was trying to think back to the game lore, honestly. Like I knew some things were different, but I started like second guessing myself, like, well, like, is he her dad? Like, do I just not remember that? But
I mean, it is FNAF. We're never really told anything.
well, because we know Afton had a daughter, but that daughter becomes baby in sister location,
Which,
I
that
think.
is where it gets a little confusing.
I forgot what her name is, but she has like the
I
red
think it was
pigtails.
Elizabeth,
Yeah,
which Elizabeth, I think was actually
Henry's
Henry's
daughter.
daughter. Yeah.
Yeah, I
And
think you're
when
right.
it shows the little like employee work video, whenever Mike starts his first night and he sees that employee video, I think when it shows the guy working on the endo,
Uh huh.
I think that that's Henry
That would make sense. Yeah.
because Henry was the one who did the work on the endos and stuff in the books, and it's implied through some stuff in the games, which would then give us room to work into Pizzeria Simulator, where he draws all them in because he's wanting to put an end to his daughter and her being obsessed.
Okay. I'm interested to see how they implement that into future films cuz
Or just how they go about, like, even if we don't see it, implying that it's happened.
yeah. Yeah, I just
Because
didn't remember.
let's face it, if they did a movie for every game, we'd be here for a while.
True. Well,
Not that
okay,
I'd
so
complain.
that made me think of like, okay, Ed Schmidt. I was trying to remember. He's the character that you play as in the first game.
Mm-hmm.
But I was trying to think like how he fits in with everything. I don't know what I'm trying to say.
Well, there's a thing where some people believe that Mike Schmidt was an alias uh that Michael was using instead of going by Michael Afton, wanting to separate himself from his father. But
Yeah,
now they're not related, who knows which route we're going, especially if we're following with some stuff from the books.
right. Man, this
But
has got me
I
thinking.
now when they showed the Springlock suit for the first time, what did you think?
I
Like the one that was in
honestly
the back room.
like all of the images that I've seen, like in the games versus like how it's explained in the books and stuff. I always wondered what it actually looked like.
And that had to have been something that took them forever to figure out, like, how do we want to make this look?
It doesn't
Because I'm
really make a
because
lot of sense. Like,
But I mean, if you think about in the games, it's like, why would someone put on something that could just snap and kill them anyways?
well, I don't. What I'm
So,
saying is, like, at the end of the movie, when Afton's getting his ass kicked, like,
as he deserves.
how how is he able to move around and stuff and like choke out Vanessa and they not go off? But then as soon as the cupcake like attacks him, then they go off.
So, that's where I love just the whole joke of him just like doing freaking all these like party tricks in it, but then it's like someone just barely touches him and it goes off. I think that the spring locks can only handle for so long, and with how the suit is, maybe they're like secured a bit differently. Because who knows, he may have altered it a bit to where they don't go off as easily.
Or were the children, after they learned the truth, were they forcing them closed?
Like the moment the cupcake reveals them, it's just like, and they just start snapping them.
Yeah, because
I can see that.
prior to that, when Vanessa's getting choked out, um, Abby is like putting the picture up on the wall, like this is what actually happened.
And I love how they use the whole thing of like, because they're children. Children learn through pictures.
Mm-hmm.
I I love that detail.
Yeah, me too. So maybe that's why they didn't go off, is because like the kids were still under the influence of Afton, and then
And
when Abby
maybe,
shows them, then they're like, okay, let's kill this guy.
yeah, because for all we know, originally he could have lured them to the back, got the suit off, and killed them that way. Or he could have altered this suit to where they really can't go off, and then the children are the ones that make it go off.
So the other thing about the springlock suits is like the actual piece of the device that like goes into your rib cage, essentially.
Yeah.
It doesn't. I mean, maybe I missed something, but that doesn't look like it would kill you. It just looks like it would break your ribs.
Well, it's hitting like the mid and lower area, and the fact that he's being left to bleed out, so it looks like it would have punctured some ribs in, which could cause lung puncturing,
That's true.
and depending on how it hits, it could even like damage the heart. And then the way that they're going in and like literally digging in, if not penetrating the stomach, would cause eternal damages there too.
Because the books made it sound like it was, like a freaking like
Like he's just getting,
corkscrew
yeah.
going through your
So
body.
I like the way they went about it and that they didn't like go on top with his limbs snapping around like some people thought it would be.
Yeah, I
I
thought
think
it would be more
him
like
being
an Iron Maiden, you know?
I think because of the way it tightens up, then he can't really move,
Mhm.
and then he's left to just slowly bleed out.
That would make sense.
Now, what do you think of the whole "I always come back" that they threw in? It was, I thought it was cheesy, but in a cute way, like to throw it to the fans.
I thought it was cheesy too. Cuz like people who don't play the games or have any idea, they're not going to understand it.
But I mean, as we've established, this was a movie made for the fans.
True. Yeah.
And the thing we all know that William Afton, Springtrap, it's "I always come back." So I thought that was just like a nice little thing to be like, hey fans, here, have this. Kind of like what they did with Matt Pat. Like
Uh-huh.
I loved that whole diner scene. I thought that was neat.
It's just a
Because
theory.
the whole theater erupted. We're like, he said it. It was just so neat.
I was trying to think of I tried to write some notes down before we started, but those were like the main things.
Now, I did notice a little detail that Matt Pat's name tag said Ness as a little nod to his Sans' Ness theory. Like, I
See,
thought that was
I
funny.
I have not followed that game. So like I don't know about that theory, but
I I just know the meme, so.
was
So,
Scott in the
what
movie?
I don't think Scott was in the movie,
I'm
but
gonna
he
look it
was
up.
there a lot of days during production.
I know he was like giving input on like the costuming and the casting and stuff.
Yeah. What do you think of the casting choices?
Thought it was good. The little girl, I know she's young, so like her acting was kind of crappy at times, but
Even then, for a child actor who's, as far as I know, she's not been in like a million things, it
the
was really good.
for the most part, yeah, but the part where Mike is like laying on the floor near the end and he's like in pain and she's like, "Mike, no." Like her acting in that scene was kind of bad because her voice is like
Eh,
cracking and like I don't know.
yeah, but we also don't know with like maybe that could have been the best take they got after like a long day of shoots too.
It made me giggle.
Yeah, it was a little cheesy, but
I'm looking up to see if
I
Scott was
will
in it.
I will say I did like Corey X Kenshin's his thing being the cabbie.
Who was that?
The cabbie whenever Abby gets in the taxi.
Who is that?
Oh, Corey X Kenshin. I've not really watched his content, but I guess he's either done FNAF gameplays or just some FNAF content.
Oh, okay. I didn't recognize him.
I've seen just some stuff here and there with him, but I've never really watched his stuff. Uh, but I really liked how he did his thing, especially when he did his Balloon Boy jump scare. I thought, because I mean, you gotta think, he has to lay there like he's trying to take a nap and then turn and just like have like a freak out to this little, just stupid thing.
Did you hear that some people were upset about the lack of gore in this movie?
With or the whole lack of child killing.
I
Like,
I don't agree with that. Like if you need something gorier, why don't you go watch Saw? Like that's not what this
yeah,
was.
yeah. I feel like anyone who knows Fnaf and goes in to the movie, like, you know that you're not going to see the animatronics doing a bunch of killing because that's just not how it is, you know. It happens when it's needed. They're not like wandering out like, "Oh, who am I going to kill today?" And the gore, it's not like we were going to see, rotting child bodies fall out of the animatronics. There's no
Right.
sense in adding gore for gore's sake because that can just ruin a movie.
Well, and I guess people were mad because it's like, they're trying to get as many people to go see it as possible, so they're making it PG-13. But I agree with you,
I
like
think that plays in its favor.
it's not necessary. It has enough, like, I mean
I
the
mean,
gore,
literally the
the
body.
excessive gore is not necessary, but like
I mean,
I
the whole subtle horror they did where you're seeing the shadows, you're hearing the noises. I think letting your brain connect the pieces and fill in all the blanks makes it scarier than what they could have done.
some of the best horror movies use those elements without showing anything.
Exactly.
Like, if y'all have ever seen Jaws, we don't see the shark for the first half of the movie. It's implied, and your brain kind of fills in the gaps. And it's one of the most iconic horror movies ever made. And there's other ones too. Um, I went to go see Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, which was based on like a children's book series that I grew up with. Um, it's kind of similar to Goosebumps, but like more scary, I think, for older kids. But it was PG-13, and I thought it was really well made. Like they didn't show anything that was gory, but they would get really close. They would build a lot of suspense, like showing you almost what you thought you were going to see, and then they would cut away. But I thought it was really well done.
And I really like in this movie, like when Mike's about to have that mask thing thrown on his face,
Hmm.
like seeing him, like that suspense anticipation of, like, in your head, like, like they're not gonna just kill him off right now, but knowing, like, in the moment of watching the movie, especially the first time,
Hmm.
just the, oh my god, oh shit, that's getting close. Like, just that suspense. I feel like they did it so they didn't draw out scenes for too long.
I'm really interested in like, and I know it's a little early to tell, but as the movies go on, like how they're gonna show things from like sister location
See,
and
I want to see Sister Location. I think the way they would make those animatronics look would be amazing.
I do too. My sister went to go see it too, and she asked me why the animatronics did not look like the ones from FNAF 4, the ones with like the big teeth and stuff.
Because those are basically just a hallucination.
I
Those
know.
are
I
nightmare
told her,
ones.
I was like, it is way too early in the game for that. No pun intended.
Yeah.
But but like I think they will do it. I think we just need to give them time. Like just have patience with it.
Yeah, like if they include like like FNAF 2, if we actually do get like Bonnie with his face like half off, like that'd be so cool to see. Or even FNAF 3, like when Springtrap is was originally introduced.
Oh yeah, I remember the other question I was going to ask you.
Hmm.
So the boy with the gold hair, like the yellow hair, whatever.
Hmm.
Um, is he Golden Freddy?
He is.
Okay, I thought so, but I was like
Yeah,
confused because
you can tell each one, but then he's got the golden hair, but he has like a shirt that makes you kind of think of Freddy.
yeah.
So and when he shows up to Abby, you have this older model Freddy suit that we see like
See,
with the
that's where
real
I was
life
confused
sees.
because she says, like, Freddy, and he goes, I'm not Freddy.
He's I
Golden
think
Freddy.
exactly. And that's also where it comes into the kids losing their identity. Like, it's almost like they're starting to think that they're these characters.
So, like, he's the only one that can talk, also. Because
Yeah.
he
Well,
talks to Abby, but, like, the other kids don't really.
which could be more of where they've been losing themselves.
Yeah. It's very interesting.
Now, I thought it was really neat, like when Mike grabbed the kid that's Foxy,
Mm-hmm.
and you just see like those black like dripping eyes,
Mm-hmm.
and then how he gets that slash also. Like it shows their fear of adults, like someone grabbing them. Like they still have that fear of when they were killed.
Yeah. I think Matthew Lillard did a good job of being
He did an
William.
amazing job.
Yeah. Like
And I think he really enjoyed his role too.
when he unveils himself, like he's really good at being like heartless in that scene.
Hmm.
Like even choking Vanessa and stuff. Like
And the look on
stabs
his
her.
face, like I feel like he's good at like doing that like eye acting,
Mhm.
like where you can see like the emotion change in an actor's eyes.
Mhm.
Because it's like when he stabs her, like there's this look for a moment where he's like, my daughter. And then it's like, look what you've made me do. And then he turns on everyone else again.
I was kind of curious, like, I know we briefly talked about this before, but like, did Vanessa know what was going on? Like, that he was gonna trap Mike
Well,
there?
I think so because he had mentioned uh clean up this mess you've made and you'll help me clean up like you always do, like lines like that.
Hmm.
So I think he's just manipulated her, and that's where that Fnaf 4 could come in, where he's used stuff to like, just drill in that fear
Hmm.
to where she's just like, my father's all I have. I gotta be a good child. Let me help my dad. Because what if, even if she's not the crying child, she could be the stand-in for, in the games, Mike,
Hmm.
that version that puts the kid's head in Freddy.
Well, it made me think,
So
like, that she
what if she
was.
had I'm just wondering, what if she had a sibling that she accidentally killed?
Could be.
You know?
I just wondered, like, if she knew what was gonna happen to Mike, but she helped him, like, helped Mike because of his sister. Like, if his sister hadn't been part of the story, would she have let him die, basically?
I think so. I think probably that's why she always stops at Freddy Fazbear's because she said, I tried to warn you in my own way. And I think it's because she doesn't say exactly what's happening because she's still covering for her father.
She's an
Because, it's
accomplice.
a, well, that, and it's like, he's my father, she loves him, but she hates what he does. But again, there could be that just mental abuse that's happened in some way
Hmm.
where she can't help but help him. Not saying it's right, but so she goes in and she can't just be like, my father's a killer, you need to leave.
Well, she did threaten to shoot him, though, at one point.
I mean, she does shoot him at one point because
No, I mean Mike. She threatens to shoot Mike.
yeah, whenever because she knows that her dad's gonna kill Abby and you know, which that's where the stuff from the books come in, that remnant,
Uh huh.
which I forget exactly, but I think it's like stuff to like help make the animatronics more lifelike and it helps prolong stuff, which maybe that's like used to help keep the children brainwashed. Because I mean, why would you keep on a security guard there then? Why would you keep killing security guards and not just go to the local park and stab a child, right?
Yeah, like, was that ever
So,
explained in the games? Like, why? I mean, I know that in the games, the children think that whoever's the security guard is the purple guy.
which makes sense, which I think that's where that remnant comes in. Because remnant is, from my understanding from watching MatPat's videos, because again, I'm not reading all the books, I'm not that dedicated,
No, me neither.
uh, is extracted through pain, agony, fear, just those strong emotions. Which, what do you feel when you're about to die? Pain, agony, fear. And then remnants used, and I think it's used like with later animatronics to, make them move all lifelike and stuff, which then causes problems. But I think it's something that's used to keep Springtrap alive afterwards. But I think it could be what he's using to help keep the children under his influence.
Yeah, because that was the line that Vanessa said. She's like, he influences them sometimes. And I was like, what
Exactly.
does she mean by that?
Which, who knows, maybe he could have been using it on her too to help keep her so obedient.
Maybe he just told the children, like, that's the guy that killed you. But it was, some other night guard.
And again, the children have been locked away in these suits to where they're losing themselves. They're losing what actually happened.
So, like, he only gave them, like, half the truth. Like, yeah, it was a night
It's
guard, but it was him, not,
hmm
the people working there.
And again, with them starting to feel like they are the animatronics, they're fusing with the characters that they've basically become.
Mm-hmm.
They just see basically the Spring Bonnie suit almost as a friend, which would make sense.
Mm-hmm. There was one part that I felt was like I was waiting for something to happen, but then it didn't happen, and I was kind of confused why. When
Oh,
Abby gets mad at Mike, she like scribbles his face out on her pictures.
hmm
I thought that the ghost children would like see that and then attack Mike, which they kind of did, but I
I
guess
think
like there was just a big like gap in between those two things happening that I was like, okay, is
I
this gonna
think
happen?
they saw it. I because isn't that right after that part when she gets taken by Golden Freddy?
I can't remember.
I think it is because she's mad she can't go back to the or the pizzeria.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they saw it as she's mad at him, and then they're using his emotions and his dream to trick him into basically saying yes. So then they use that, and they're
I
like,
think you're right. Yeah.
"We've got our we've got our opportunity. Let's do it."
Mm-hmm.
And then I guess while they're like, "Hey, it's happened," they probably have some way that with William, where he's like, "All right, my time has come. Time to go stab a child."
That part when like he's in the dream and like they ask for Abby, that part was so sad. Like I was
It,
choked up when I was watching that scene.
I know. And you know that they do a scene right when you're just like, "Oh my god."
Well,
Like
he
it
basically
gets you.
he has to choose between two siblings.
Mhm.
Like my dead brother or my alive sister.
And then that moment as he moves Garrett's hair and he's like, "No, Abby." And he realizes I've been chasing this when I shouldn't be. I should be helping her. Seeing like the harm he's caused.
Yeah. That was I liked that. Like I like how that was written. It was very emotional.
Yeah, and they didn't put in like they didn't try to make it like over the top cheesy and add in lines that didn't need to be there. They showed instead of telling.
Which is always masterfully done. Like
Mhm.
it just works. It works for that scene, and I love seeing that where they don't spell everything out for the audience. Like they just kind of
Hmm.
let you experience it. Um,
And they just let you like feel the emotions, like especially when you're in a movie and you can feel what the main character's feeling, and you're just like, oh shit, like that's when you know like they've done right.
especially, I felt like it was really relatable in a sense that like, especially if you have siblings, like if you were in that situation.
Yeah, see, like I'm the oldest of me and my brothers, so like thinking like, if something happened to one of my brothers and feeling like it was my fault, and then having where I'm taking care of the other, and just that, thinking of being in that situation, like it just breaks my heart.
Yeah, I have two younger sisters, and I felt the same way. But yeah, that was really well done. I could not, for the life of me, the end of the movie, the credits, not the balloon boy clip. That was funny though. Um,
I love that they threw that in, which
but
is a good way to leave it open for the next movie too.
the spelling of the words "come find me."
I
Um,
love that because that was like from Fnaf 2 when the thing spells out save them. So then
yeah,
this one using the same thing, come find me,
I could not
definitely
understand it
says.
at first though, because I missed like the first half of it. People were talking and leaving and stuff.
Yeah, see, I didn't catch it the first time I watched it, but see, because I was at this like smaller theater and I
Hmm.
was at a real late showing, so it was me and my friend. We were the only ones, so we were obnoxious during the whole movie because we could be. I mean, if there's no one else in there, we're gonna be. I mean, when
Yeah,
they started playing the Living Tombstones Five
I
Nights at
didn't
Freddy's, we
have that
literally shouted.
luxury.
But when it started playing Five Nights at Freddy's, me and my friend literally shouted Five Nights at Freddy's and just sang along to it.
Yeah, I do
And
like
we're
that
just
song.
making jokes. We're just like, oh no, it's the man behind the slaughter. But we were like having a good time and just like stimming the whole time. Like we're just like so excited. But
The scene where Golden Freddy closes the door while Afton's in pain.
oh, you could just feel that moment.
Oh yeah, it that set up for the next movie. I'm excited.
Just you could feel the fuck you energy.
Yeah.
But
That kid's a
again,
good actor. I gotta say,
he
like
is
his face the whole time.
like a lot of kids like they may be able to deliver lines, but the face,
Mhm.
like he does great with it.
He was so dead serious.
But the way he would talk to Abby, how it's like how he would talk to her and stuff,
Uh-huh.
like it was almost like, oh, we've been best friends forever, and it's like, and then you get that deadpan just,
And you got that like manipulative kind of undertone, you know?
mm-hmm, which makes me think that out of the not Garrett, but like out of the other children killed, I think he was the first.
Yeah.
So he's probably been there the longest, but hasn't managed to lose himself fully.
Mhm.
Because I think he's the only one whose face never got blurred.
What do you think of the fort scene where all the animatronics are like helping them
Oh,
build it?
that melted my heart. I was like, oh, that's so cute.
Do you feel like
Just
it
Bonnie.
took away from like the seriousness of the movie?
I think it added, like, because it adds into the whole, these are children in these
True.
suits. And, they're not being manipulated right now. They found a child, a new friend. They're playing. They're having a good time. Kids love to build forts. And they're like, we need to make it bigger. And and then Bonnie just tensing up and falling backwards. Like it's so cute. And I feel like that just drives home the whole these are dead children,
Yeah.
which saddens it too. So I feel like the movie needed that moment. Like hearing it without watching the movie, it's like, oh, that sounds stupid. That's so out of place for a horror movie. But when you think of the franchise and the movie as a whole, I feel
Makes
like
sense.
it adds that moment we need. And again,
Critics
that space
hated
for
this movie.
breathing. Huh?
Critics
Well, yeah,
hated
they're
this
not
movie.
fans of it.
I know.
They're not,
But
I mean,
like
literally,
everybody's talking about it on TikTok how like the critic score is like 25% and then audience score is like 90.
yeah, because Jason Blum, Scott, and other producers of it were like, we are making this for the fans. This is for you guys. They weren't like, oh, we're gonna make this for everyone. No, they knew who their audience was, and they wanted to do right by us. They threw in those fun Easter eggs. They knew people hate Balloon Boy, and he was the most annoying character, so they put in those little jump scares.
The
They put in a
animatronics looked
reference
great.
they put in a reference to the third Fazbear Frights book cover, that doll, which was the Springlock suit we find in the back.
Yeah,
Like, all the references. Because they could have made a movie for anyone. They could have gotten no YouTubers, just made a big budget movie and cashed in.
true.
But it feels like they were willing to take a loss on it just to do something that the fans would love.
The animatronics looked awesome.
Oh my god, I watched Daco's behind the scenes video, and it's so neat. Like, you're not seeing the person that's like, off screen, like controlling them, but they are legit animatronics that are controlled. They're not being puppeteered, they're not being CGI'd.
That's cool.
And that's just so amazing that they would take that extra step. Because I feel like it really adds to that, like, you're looking up at them.
Mhm.
And, like, you feel that intenseness of these things are huge. These things look cool, but they're so deadly too.
Did you hear that Chuck E. Cheese was getting sued?
Oh, spill
Yeah,
the tea.
they so I guess like they were having some kind of Halloween event like at their chain of stores.
The poster they released, I
Yeah.
saw that.
Yeah, the Five Nights of Fun,
Mm-hmm.
and they're getting sued by like I guess the Fnaf movie creators cuz they ripped off the poster.
As they should be getting sued. I mean, considering they've like thrown shit over at FNAF for existing and blaming it for being the reason they're not doing good, and then trying to cash in on it.
But I was like, the movie has been in production since 2015. And like the games have been out a lot longer than that. Why would they want to capitalize on it now of all times? Like they
Because they're
had
actually
time.
seeing the hype, because they were finally seeing the real hype for it, and that it was actually going somewhere instead of just being a bunch of indie games with crazy fans. So then they're just like, oh
Mm.
shit, we can actually do something with this, and thought they could cash in.
I mean, I've been saying for years that they should capitalize on it, but not like
I keep
this. I mean, this was low.
No, like they should do an actual collaboration.
Yeah.
Like it'd be cool to see like say like some sweaters, hoodies, shirts like released where it's like FNAF style Chuck E. Cheese characters
Well, and I
on
kind of
it.
think like they should do a collab because without Chuck E. Cheese's, we probably wouldn't have FNAF in the first place.
Exactly.
Maybe they see it that way, but they're ripping it off though, like the movie. I
I
mean,
mean, they did wrong. That if they wanted to do that, I feel like they could have talked and probably got rights to do something similar for
hmm,
a poster like that. Because to me, it seems like Scott's a pretty chill guy.
yeah.
I don't know him. I've not seen a lot of interviews with him, you know.
Well,
But to
he's
me, it seems like he's
supportive of fan stuff for sure.
considering he added candies to his like to the FNAF universe, saying like, yeah, I mean, that's like saying that McDonald's and Burger King can't exist in the same universe. Of course, other companies would try to capitalize on something like this.
Hmm.
Like, that's so cool of him to do. And, he sees like like when he did the little mini game for like right before the movie came out.
Mm-hmm.
Because he always does something small like that before a big event. And he like had little jokes like I know that there's a lot of you that draw not safe for work art. And there was like a little level that's like, ha ha ha, I see you guys. Or stuff to do with the memes. Like, he knows how to take the jokes in stride. Like, he knows, and he's not someone who's like, how dare you draw this of my
He
characters?
knows
And
about the horny people.
pretty sure that's about 80% of the fans. Let's be honest.
Well, you're one of them, right?
I do love Sun and Moon. So,
Anyways,
so where do you think the next movie is going to lead into?
I think it's gonna pick up with, somebody finding Springtrap, but it'll be years later.
So you think we might lead into like Fnaf 3, like from that game?
Possibly?
I could see it because the puppet still kind of exists in that, even though it's a phantom one.
I mean, Afton getting left in that room at the end of the movie is kind of a big, like,
It's a yeah.
I don't think they would skip over FNAF, like, what am I trying to say? I don't think they would make us wait an entire movie in between before getting to FNAF 3, if that makes sense.
I mean, they could imply FNAF 3 having existed because that one was literally just someone wanting to cash in on FNAF or on Fazbear existing and the supposed rumors and horrors that happened there.
I do
And this
think
guy
there's
who
going to
just
be a
likes to buy
time
a lot of merch.
there's going to be a time skip for sure.
Oh yeah. For all we know, they could jump straight to Pizzeria Simulator because the puppet still exists within that one.
Mhm.
But then that leaves open because of Baby and them. So I see us here going next straight to just FNAF 2 or somehow going to Sister Location.
Well, and they could combine more than one game into a film too, like or elements from
True.
those.
True. I mean, we got like the setup of FNAF 1 for this one. So I'm
Mhm.
like wondering which one are we going to use as like the main premise. Because with Sister Location we have where Mike gets scooped.
Well, remember
But with FNAF
FNAF
2 we
2 takes place before FNAF 1.
true, but then again, this is FNAF, so
They could literally do anything with it. I mean, it could go
exactly.
anywhere.
The only thing I see for FNAF 2, if we go into that, is because of the puppet.
Mhm.
But I feel like we're going to go to Sister Location. I don't really see a need for FNAF 3, like the whole Fazbear Fright attraction the guy's doing.
Yeah.
I feel like that can be implied as something that's happened and just,
Do you think that we're
you
still
know,
gonna be? Do you think we're still gonna be following Ed Schmidt or not Ed Schmidt? Sorry, Mike Schmidt. Um,
I think so.
or if it'll be a different character.
I think so. And because it is Mike, or it's believed to be Mike, who's working Sister Location, and he's the one that gets scooped, which then leads for them to escape, and then we get the secondary purple guy.
Do you think Abby will be in it again?
Possibly, which then, again, if we have Sister Location, we could have where Abby gets captured by Baby,
True.
which would then just drive Mike even just like, I've lost everything, I've got nothing else to lose, I gotta stop this shit.
Mhm.
Considering Abby's his whole world.
Well, we're about at our stopping point. Do you have any closing thoughts?
I think anyone who's ever watched even just any of the games, any Let's Plays, or even listen to like theories. I think if you go to the movie, don't go looking for answers. Go looking to enjoy something that has a lot of love put into it.
This definitely did.
Like
I felt like the creators cared a lot about this.
go to the movie. I suggest it for everyone. The horror, the gore is basically non-existent. The worst you get is shadow stuff, uh, and just when you see the people after they'd been killed, when Mike finds them, and even then, it doesn't linger long.
Hmm.
So it is worth it for everyone. I can't handle gore at all, and I've watched this movie twice,
What would you
and
rate it, like overall, out of 10?
a 12. I
uh,
I'm picky. I am picky with movies, but this is a movie where I felt the love put in it, and I felt the joy of it. And as someone, Fnaf basically had saved my relationship with my husband
hmm.
back like years ago, and just seeing something that I've been theorizing about, watching, excited for every game, it it didn't let me down. Like I've gotten my hopes up on movies that look amazing and been let down so hard.
Hmm.
This one, it did not let down. It hit every expectation plus some. Go to the movie and just go looking to have a great time, and you will enjoy it.
I'd probably give it a 9 out of 10. I did enjoy it. It was a good movie. I just I would only give it a 9 because of the pacing. I felt like the pacing was a little too slow at times,
The
but
pacing may not be for everyone, but like I said before, I feel like the pacing adds to it.
it's still a good film. I mean, I want to watch it again for sure.
I look forward for the announcements on when they start filming for the next one and to see what role Mark will be playing. Because
Yeah.
let's face it, Scott ain't letting him miss out this time.
I
I
saw a
think Scott will end
video.
up.
I sent you a video where this lady walks into a theater and she's like that's showing FNAF and she was like, "We brought Markiplier," and she has like a cardboard cutout of
I'd seen that.
Markiplier.
Yeah, because for some reason the projector wasn't working, and so they're like, the movie may not have shown up, but we have Mark. I've seen where so many people have taken little photos of Mark with them. I've seen where people have cosplayed as Mark to the movies, and it's like
That's so funny.
this. Because I feel like this is one of those times where a whole community actually comes together and enjoys something instead of doing something bad.
Oh yeah, it was nice to see. There were people dressed up at my theater too. But anyways, thank you guys so much for listening and we'll see you next time.
Bye.